I'll just open it up, but just so you guys can get to know each other a little bit better. And I'm gonna mute because I think there's a lot of like snowplow people and whatever. So, Pitango, do you want to start?
I'll start. So my name is Pitango, and it sounds like in the kindergarten. Yeah, I'm born in Palestine, Israel, as a Jew. Not that I knew what is a Jew, because I didn't know anything else except being what I grew up with. And uh, I just had a regular, weird childhood. And just a regular weird childhood in a reality of being an Israeli, which I did not know that there is other reality exists that look different than mine. And by the time I was 18, I already saw my dad going to 3 wars and come back, and, and a reality that is very far from normal, and yet that was my normal. That was my life. I didn't have any other perspective to compare it to. And by the time I was 18, I was joining the IDF, the army. I had some doubts about it, but not doubts that consider like I didn't arrive yet to any kind of consciousness or spirituality that will tell me why I have doubts. I just had unconscious doubts, but because my dad was like a general in the army, I was like, I'll give him that. I'll give him to be proud of me once in his life. There was no any other thought of what is actually an army, what actually we do in the army. It's just something that everybody does. So it's part of the existence of me being me being part of that thing called Israel. And I joined the army. I was based in the north of Israel, or whatever you want to call that place, and next to the border of Lebanon. And then I was in tanks. I followed the path of my dad, because it's the only path I knew. And I went I trained as a soldier in battles, and then they sent me to Lebanon. And when I arrived to Lebanon, it was the first time I ever, I knew there is that kind of word, mean enemy, but I had no idea what is enemy, because I never had an enemy in my life. I didn't know. I knew there was a word, but I didn't know what to mean. And the first time I actually experienced the word enemy was actually from a Lebanese woman that looked at me when I arrived to Lebanon with my tanks. Look at me. It was the first time I realized that actually she looked at me like I am the enemy. That was the first time I experienced doubt. I mean, consciousness first and then doubt, about who am I and what am I doing here. And during my army, it's happened to me over and over again. With it was in Lebanon for a short time, and then they took me back to the south of Israel. They trained me to be a commander, and then the first Intifada started. And then they brought me into Gaza. And it's unbelievable that Gaza and the West Bank are less than 45 minutes away from Tel Aviv, where I grew up. And I knew nothing about their reality. I knew nothing about what is to be a Palestinian. I knew they taught us nothing about the Palestinian culture, about their struggle, about their history. I knew more about England and United States than I actually knew about the Palestinians. And again, I found myself in the street in Gaza, and I don't see enemy. I see people, and I see anger, and I see lots of pain. And then that's from the side of the people. And then I see the soldiers, my friends, and my commanders, and I see like a robotic behavior. I don't see rational mind. I don't see I see tactic, but it's not tactic human, like it's not human tactic. Is kind of like engineer, everybody's engineered to do things, like as groups, and then I see some of my friends treating Palestinians in ways that I believe that until this moment in my life, I had a child in me that was leading this thing called Pitango. And in that moment, that child couldn't handle that. I couldn't handle the experience. And I think more than everything, this is who I am today. Thank you for listening.
I love you so much. Thank you for sharing. I mean, it's
Sure.
interesting to see the two sides. And I just want to make some space and thank you for your courage. Thank you for freeing that little boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he deserves to be free and to be
Oh,
speaking out on peace and truth and love and, and everything that you stand for and everything that you've shown. I'm so grateful. I love you.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Hi,
Sababa,
Pitango. Hi.
Hi.
you share your
Good
story. I
morning.
love.
Yeah. Before I share my story,
Yeah.
I want to share kind of the state of mind or heart that I woke up in today, and then get back to what Pitango has shared. But I woke up today with feelings that I can't really name. I couldn't put words to it. Definitely not English words, but even my Arabic vocabulary had a challenge naming them. And then I realized that I was extremely just sad today, extremely sad. The kind of sadness that is really tiring, you know, the one that you feel in your bones. And the more that I got into why I'm feeling sad or what, I realized, like I said to a friend before I got on this call, that I'm sad for the oppressed and the oppressor. I'm sad for the aggressor. I'm sad for the victim. I'm sad for all of our stories that have been shaped by those forces. I started seeing in this revolution of love. It feels dark right now. It feels and it feels like with every light that we held on to in the face of this blowing storm, that it's getting dimmed, but then there's another light that lights up. And but so then listening to you, Pitango, share your story. Yeah, I see you.
Mm.
I see you, and I acknowledge your journey, and I acknowledge your pain, and I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful, like Honeybee said, that you did free that child,
Mm.
that you kept it, kept him, listened to him, and strengthened him, and kept him with you. So I'm grateful for that. And it's almost like what I needed. I've been studying kind of collective healing after a collective of people go through what both Palestinians and Israelis have been through. I've been studying it to understand how do we move forward. I wanted to know, not just by knowing. I wanted to learn from others that have been through this, and it's fascinating that one of the concepts that like I got into exploring more was this, what we're doing right now, but doing it at a collective, bigger scope, where our healing is interconnected, our stories are interconnected, and to be acknowledged by one another.
Mm.
So here's my, I'll start with my story maybe now. So I was born in Jerusalem in 1983, so just a little bit before the first Intifada. I always say that, so I'm gonna share that with you too. My name is Sabrin in Arabic. It means we are patient, because that's one of the essential ingredients, I guess, to being Palestinian, is to know patience, to really know it and partner with it. And it really speaks to the inherent belief that the Palestinians carry, belief in their freedom and their fight for freedom and their existence.
Mm.
Yeah. So I grew up in Ramallah until I was 17, and then I went to Jordan and lived there. I would tell you, it took me, I think, until coming to the United States to understand the level of trauma or injustice that I experienced and the Palestinians collectively experience, you know. Growing up, you know, we had periods of time in the early 80s that we were, during the Intifada, we were not allowed to go to school. We couldn't carry even a school backpack because then the soldiers would identify that we're studying. Curfews, you heard of and you saw your neighbors, your classmates, you know, people that you love get oppressed in multiple ways, including losing their lives. Nothing in our childhood had normalcy. You know, we couldn't plan an outing or a trip, or everything was contingent on the Israelis, you know. So you get the message early on as a Palestinian that we live and die according to that oppressive ideology and its enactors. And the shapes of that are just unspeakable. The way that it takes life, it's just indescribable. It's within everything. But then somehow it also created a unified, like you talked about, you didn't know anything about the Palestinian culture. It created this unified beauty of connectedness. You know, our poets speak of love and freedom, and they speak of everything that we worship, you know, our olive trees, our grandparents or grandma's ancestral songs of freedom. You start seeing, so we collectively grew up with celebration as well. Celebration of who we are, celebration of what we stand for, what we're fighting for. And you see that in everybody in different doses and different shapes and forms. But I truly didn't understand what it means to be Palestinian, you know, to be born Palestinian. Like you said, you were born Israeli. Until later on in life. Yeah, and it's still also taking shape today, you know, because it feels that it's more difficult today to be a Palestinian than it was before. And then, you know, you go through this process, like you said, sometimes unconsciously, so it is easier to name the enemy, you know. Because we had an enemy on the ground that and then you know, that killed and destroyed and invaded and you know, like you know, the little stories of, for example, going to visit my grandparents and then finding that the Israeli soldiers have dug up the street where we're supposed to drive, and no, you couldn't go see your grandparents today, or you see them, you know, throw a tear gas bomb on school kids that are, you know. So yes, so it was easier as a child to know who my oppressor is, for them to take a shape and a form. And as I grew older and got on this journey of self knowing, self exploration, or, you know, as my curiosity about the human condition grew, that has taken a different shape, to the extent that I went to visit occupied Palestine Recently, just because I needed first the tango to lay my head on my dad's shoulder, who's 74 years old, and I know that you as a child you couldn't bear what you were put in, and I can't bear his pain right now. It's been 74 years of him witnessing this happening to his people, and of him believing, actually, believing. So in part, I went to do that. You're both stuck. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, me
But I
too.
also, thank you. But I also went to see that we're not really reduced to dots on a map. When I see news saying 30,000 killed, 65,000 injured, 25,000 children orphaned, olive trees uprooted. When I see all of these things, I wanted to go and see how expansive our villages are, and how expansive our towns are, and how expansive our hills are, and I wanted to see the spirit of the people, although it's not Gaza, but it's Palestinians nonetheless. And one of the most fascinating parts about the experience is that once I reached the area that we passed to get into occupied Palestine, Israel, and started seeing Israeli soldiers, I started paying attention to how it felt in my body, and that's when I felt that although I, as a human, once I made that crossing as a Palestinian, I lost all agency over my body and over my life, truly. Like, that's what occupation to us means. In practice, it's like, you have been demoted as a human. But I was surprised that all I had towards the soldiers is curiosity, curiosity, and how does it feel in their body to be that said enemy that you pointed out, to be the aggressor. How does it feel in their body, and also curious at the personal level, like when they look at me, what are they seeing, and with what are they seeing, and uh, and that was enlightening for me. It was um, yeah, I'm glad actually I went back to this moment. I think I needed it today. Um, yeah, but it just feels too big to tango right now. It feels the road is long, um, and it feels there's, like you unlearned, like I unlearned. There's so much right now, and it's almost like, yeah, like the more, yeah, it feels a lot. It feels dark right now. Um, it feels that the whole world, conspired against our people, um, and that conspiring resulted in you serving as a soldier, not knowing what you stood for, really. And it resulted in the Palestinian story being what it is, and now it's getting worse with It's the suffering is It's too heavy. It's too heavy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah. Of course, being the Palestinian that I am, I wanted to step over the step and go back to seeing the light, believing. Um, there's I'm gonna share that with you, but maybe I'll share the song with you. There's a song, a folkloric song, that says that if my voice um, ever leaves you, um, then you use your voice. You'll still have your voice on you, and that I'm marching. I'm marching forward. I'm taking action. It talks about a resistance. My eyes on your future, but my heart is breaking today. But my eye is on your future. Um, so yeah, I keep saying that to myself.
Mm.
Yeah.
I feel you. Thank you.
I'm
Thank
curious
you.
for both of you of how you're feeling now, just sharing with each other. And I know that both of you have Palestinian friends and Israeli friends, and you're both speaking to the opposite groups regularly and working with this unification. And I'm just curious how this conversation feels in your body right now as you woke up with this heavy weight, and how you're sharing tears together. And I'm just curious, how does this feel in your body now?
Um, I, first of all, I'm not really a great listener, I have to say. I always say that I speak many languages, but I listen in none. So, but I don't think I ever listened so well in my life like I listened to you, Sabrina.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, I really, I really love you. Like,
Thank
I think you're an incredible person, and I love how present you are for all of it. Like how alive you are in the pain, in everything. Sometimes I feel like this moment is actually helping me to feel my own, because I come from the place of the oppressor, and in there is very little unity in that place. um, Discovering starting to have the consciousness from a young age that my people are wrong and my people are doing a crime, a humanitarian crime to another group of people. And it's unbearable. It's unbearable. Like it's not, it's like unbearable to a place, you know, like, you know, that when I go to visit my family, which I don't do anymore because of that feeling, I just feel pain. I just feel like honestly, I just found myself eating all the time in order for me not to feel like obsessively eating. Every time I went to Israel, it was like obsessively eating, just not feeling, because it's too much, you know. And the only really true feelings that I let myself to feel is every time I used to go to visit in Israel, I would go to East Jerusalem and walk in the markets and pretend like I'm a tourist, pretend like I'm not Israeli, and let those beautiful people to see me as just as a person, you know, not as a, you know, like just, I would go with my partner, you know, at the time, and she was French, or my the mother of my child, she was Italian, and I got this pass because of them as a regular person, and I tried to avoid speaking as much as I could, so I'll experience how is it to have a regular relationship with a Palestinian. And it was always the most precious thing I had. But now it's very different because I feel like I was numbing myself for a really long time because it was too painful. And what happened in the 7th was actually a wake-up call for me to realize that I don't want to take it no more. I I don't want to like not by my name. You know, I'll tell you by my name, you'll hear the truth of 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 a child that see the truth, not of a brainwashed adult that is not capable of seeing because he's afraid of feeling. And from that moment, you know, it's been, you know, 3 months of waking up in the morning and just like, what is the most important thing? Most important thing is to remember to say my truth without any fear of the judgment of my people, which right now, who is my people? Who is my family? Like right now, you are my people, you know, and, and I'll fight for you, you know, because you're my people, you know.
And I'll fight for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So even though it's a process of pain, it's also a lot of truth are coming out, and the name Palestine is a name of resistance and courage and liberation and freedom. It's not
Those the
anymore, yeah, it's not anymore a name of the forgotten.
yeah.
And that part does make me more alive. The idea that this fire is happening right now and activating everyone in my reality is just blow my mind. So just want everybody to hear you. I want all the world to hear you, to hear your story, and the way you're expressing your
And
story. It's so
yours.
important.
And yours, Pitango.
Uh-huh.
I often contemplate the idea that yeah, those who are made to become the oppressor, um, they do stand alone, and I'm sorry that you felt that way for a while.
Mm.
Because there's this connection from the self, and that
Mm.
really doesn't allow for a communal way of being. And listening to you, yeah, I've contemplated this concept as well of who is our tribe,
Mm.
who is our family, who's our tribe. And it's really, I saw a Jewish, you said that the Palestinian word, or to be a Palestinian, it stands for resilience and love and fight for freedom and tradition
Mm.
and culture and joy and strength and ancestral honoring, but so does the Jewish identity, away from Zionism.
Mm.
And one of the most beautiful moments for me during this time was when I went to the first event with Jewish Voice for Peace. I told everybody that when we go on marches, or when somebody asks me how my family is doing, or it's it's a sense of there is a sense of solidarity. But when I went to the event with the Jewish Voice for Peace, it didn't feel like solidarity. It felt like I was being received by my tribe. I was being received by my warriors, by the people that are in it, like really in it, shoulder to shoulder. They're in it. It's their fight too. It's their task. They've been charged with this through different journeys, some similar to yours, some having the privilege to grow up in an anti-Zionist Jewish. But I often, and to tell you the truth, Pitango, within my circle, my inner and my bigger circle, because I carry myself the same way wherever I go. I talk about what does it take for an Israeli brought up within ingrained, within a Zionist ideology to unlearn, to deconstruct. And I tell everybody it's like it has to be one of the most painful. Because I go home and everybody is like me,
Mm.
to the extent that the person, her name is Life, we have a care, one of our loves for my family, and she helps, cook, and she helps take care of my family, and like a mother, really.
Mm.
And I always worry about the Palestinian spirit, Pitango. I worry that we're going to be hurt enough that we are going to we are gonna lose the Palestinian spirit. So I asked everybody while I was there kind of similar questions, or I put it into the conversation, even if awkwardly, to ask how do they feel about, you know, Israelis. Or so I asked this question to Life, and I said, Life, have they hurt our soul enough that we can become our oppressor, that we are going to repeat this cycle? And she says in Arabic, um, absolutely not, you know, with like the firmness and the defiance of a beautiful, beautiful, strong woman. And then she looks at me and she says, on the way to you today, and and a background to this story, she like invaded Ramallah the night before, so it took her a lot of hours to get to our home. And a few days prior to that, like a couple of weeks prior to that, they invaded her home. The Israeli occupation forces invaded her hometown, and they killed her son's best friend, who had to carry his friend as he died because they didn't allow ambulances. So this is the background, the recent background. So I asked her this question, and she looks at me and she's like, on the way to you today, when I'm coming to work, if I saw an Israeli soldier that's hurt and bleeding, do you think I would have stopped to help them or not? Answer me. And I said, I believe that you would have stopped for sure, 100%. And she was like, and point me at a Palestinian that wouldn't. Like, point towards a Palestinian that wouldn't have. Um, so yeah, going back to, I guess I started to say who's our tribe. It is this collective of people that have, like you said, they've been activated, and we've been in different places on our journey. You know, some people were more ready than others. Some people are now doing the work and deconstructing, and I'm both. I don't want to say sorry. I'm not sorry for your journey. It has brought you to who you are. And it amazes me, just like you didn't hear the Palestinian story, I didn't hear a lot of the Israeli stories. I don't know how it feels in your body to be given that identity, that when you go places, even within the place that you were born, you feel shame. And I recognize, acknowledge that. And I and I and I see you, and not despite of it. I see you. I see your courage, and I see the small ways that you supported yourself by by becoming a tourist, to actually have that connection and feed your soul. So I thank you for that. Um, um, yeah, I have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I find it really beautiful, this conversation, and to be able to witness. Thank you. And I keep feeling into this generational healing that
Yeah.
you all, this is in particular for both of you. This is you speaking out and you using your voice and you showing the healing process is the medicine that we need. And it feels like such an honor, and I want to amplify your voices both because it's needed. You, Sabrine, with your father and being put into the Israeli prisons, and you being walking inside, and you Pitango, and being on the other side and going into Gaza and seeing the eyes of these people and seeing the discord from what you were taught into what you were doing. And I want to know how I can support this voice in getting out into the world, because when I hear you both and the heaviness that you carry, Sabrine, this morning, and the desire that we all want to move forward knowing that this is a long journey. And I also want to be such a voice of, there's so many people who are waking up because of this, that are on the side of love and peace. And unfortunately, this is how we have to learn, through the heinous acts of another, so that people will really wake up. But how can I support you both better?
I'm gonna by expanding our tribe, because by expanding our tribe, because at this point I think we're all activated to doing the work, and knowing who we stand with, and knowing that we're marching together. But definitely, yeah, I think putting us together to say that we do see a way forward together, like even, you know, what a free Palestine means to Palestinians, you know. Yeah, amplifying our voices, amplifying the journeys of each one of us. And yeah, I feel supported today, I guess, with what you're doing already, Honeybee.
And I guess I'm not making this about me, but as a collective, how can we support this movement of peace? Because these are the conversations that I know. When I was living in Jordan, these were the conversations that we were bringing people together. And now I want to turn up the volume on you both, and on this, what you stand for. Because one thing that I noticed, and when the early days of this was going on, Pitango, Sabrine was actually bringing me comfort with her words, and saying to me how the freedom is connected for both. It's both of you together. It's both sides of this are so interlinked with this level of freedom that it can be for all. But we have to start crossing the bridges and having these conversations between what people thought were the enemies, but you just didn't know the human.
Yeah. You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just, I have a really good friend. His name is Amir, and he's from Jerusalem as well. He's Palestinian from Jerusalem. He lives in Phoenix, Arizona. And, since, and we've always been really, from the first second we met, we've been so connected, and like he was looking, I was doing a festival, and I was part of a festival I think it was in Oregon or something. And suddenly somebody brought him to my shop in the festival. And he say, hey, this is Pitango. Like he introduced us. This is Pitango. This is Amir. So Amir was like, where are you from? So I said, I'm from Palestine. Because that's what I always used to say. Because it's so rare to meet people from Palestine. I was like, I'll be from Palestine. I'll tell the story.
Wow.
And he looked at me and he started tearing, you know. He was like, "Are you Palestinian?" I was like, "No, I born as Israeli, but I born in Palestine." And we looked in each other's eyes and we start crying because we feel more like we feel more connected when we let ourselves to feel more to feel then we feel more connected than with anybody else. Like suddenly everything else disappeared, you know. We're just, you know, we were just so present to that connection that we have so naturally, because truly probably we're the same people, you know, that been divided constantly.
Yeah.
And recently, you know, we talk all the time. So recently we talked, and I was talking with him about the Nakba, and he was like, you know, somehow you know more about the Nakba than me myself. I was like, he was like, I'm learning about my history somehow, because I always love history and I never dared to look at that part of history. And when I start to learn about that part of history, it's made me so rich because it's part of my existence. And as much as I feel that I'm from Palestine, it's the first time, in a way, that I like. It's way more than what I feel as a Jew. You know what I mean? Like because I don't know what is a Jew anymore. Like what is a Jew is having a certain kind of values, certain kind of tradition, certain kind of beliefs. Because when I look at Israel, they don't share that beliefs that I have. They don't share the values that I have. Like I feel so much more connected to the Palestinian values than to the Israelis. So where does it put me in that place? And I feel that the reason why I'm resonate more with the Palestinian people is because they have the true connection to the land, which we never learned from them. And that's what we need as collective to study. We need to study how to have that connection with that olive tree. You know, and when you say that, it brings so much feelings into me because, and it's beautiful, you know, in a way that the Palestinian didn't, you know, have a country because maybe, you know, in their essence, what, you know, they didn't own the land. The land owned them.
Yeah, the land owns us, yeah.
So when this craziness of countries and whatever came, you know, of course, because they had such a connection to the land, they were the last one to have a country because they didn't claim the land, because the land claimed them. And I feel like this is the process that that we're going through right now, you know, and the collective, you know, as a collective. Yeah, I hope I don't talk too much.
You talk just the right amount.
Yeah. You are you are beautiful. Yeah, you captured it. we have a saying like that in Arabic that says that البلاد بتعرف أهلها. It means that the land knows its people.
Can you say it again?
Yeah, please.
So I'm gonna say it in the Arabic slang, the Palestinian.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Please.
البلاد تعرف أهلها. Which means,
Beautiful.
the land knows its people. And and you're right that being Palestinian really is not centered around nationalism, you know.
Yeah.
It's centered, but what I also it honors me that you think of yourself as a Palestinian being born to that land, because you were born to that land.
It's the biggest compliment I ever had, by the way, to call me Palestinian.
and you are and your journey to knowing has been difficult. So I see that as well. Whereas my journey wasn't. I was given those things at birth, and despite all the struggles, my fight was never internal, Tango, and yours was internal, and that's that has to have I'm sure that was difficult. My as it relates to my identity being a Palestinian, my struggle was external. The internal part was pain and feeling, but not deconstructing, not there were aspects that I had to unlearn, but much less than what you've been through. So thank you for, and I'm so glad, Honeybee, you're recording, because I want that part of, I want the whole.
Me too.
I want to share with the world, you two. I'm so in love. I want to. So, I'm gonna stop the recording now. Oh yeah.
Okay. The thing that I wanted to say is that, Honeybee, you asked about, like, how could you support us and support what we're doing, and right now there's a lot of work geared towards kind of a ceasefire and as a first step to end this cycle of suffering. But I think alongside of it, we have to grow the communities that are going to be especially that we, Katanga, you and I, have the privilege of our trauma kind of being right now witnessing trauma that activates us, but we're not the ones that are losing family members, we're not the ones that are losing body parts, we're not the ones that are having to commit those crimes against the self, really, the self and the other. So I think that that yes, we do have to grow those communities, that we sit together, that we are going to be able to carry some of that pain and carry the light and carry our communities individually and together. So to answer your question, Honeybee, I think more forums like this, and it'll have also personal healing. Like, I know one of my friends recently did this, and she told me, she texted me that she felt so bad for the Israeli during a session like this, because it was difficult on them. But I would like to stand by you and do more of this, whether it's with more people or just for
super, super important.
Mm.
And I really like, just want to make sure before we're wrapping it out or not, I want you to know, Sabrine, that it's this process of separating myself from being a Zionist and is not really separating, is liberating.
Yes.
So it's not suffering. It's a, or maybe it is, but then you have to define what pain is, you know, and the you know, the line between pain and joy. So I live for this moment, you know. I it's I'm, if you want to, like, the only thing that I want you to feel for me is joy, because it's so liberating to be connected to another human. And it's so liberating to know that really our essence is not like it's almost like we've been trained to think that our essence is to have it in ourselves that we have enemies, and to have it in ourselves that we need wars, and this is our first nature. It's always been, and I don't believe in that. I really don't. I think it's always been those sick people that really, in their existence, in their narcissism mind, they need this division for them to be exist. They needed to be recognized as important, but actually they're the biggest obstacle that we have in humanity, those narcissists. And I feel like we are their challenge, because they're not our challenge no more. It's we are their challenge right now, you know. Like we are, they're not dangerous for us anymore. We are dangerous for them, because it's so easy to take them out of this very narrow pyramid that they stand on, which we are the base.
Right.
Like we can't be pushed no more. We are on the surface. It's them that's standing very, very unstable on that top, very alone. I'm not alone.
No, you're not.
No, I'm like with everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I never felt more with everybody. No matter how many times I've been called traitor, which is probably hundreds of times last 3 months. Like thousands of times I've been appreciated for being a nice person, you know, like kind of cool. So I'm like, yeah, and it's really beautiful, because I just want to say that it's really beautiful because it's through that realization of my feelings, it's kind of make me selfless in a way, because it's not about me. It's always about like for me, this struggle is always about the Palestinian, and like their freedom is my freedom, but it's their freedom that need to be addressed. And through that freedom, then I'll get freedom too. So it's such a beautiful process of not fighting directly for something that is giving anything to myself, but then in the end of the process or during the process, I feel constantly liberate somehow. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah.
It does make sense.
Would you like to share
And I will
something?
feel.
Yeah, and then I think we'll close and we'll revisit this conversation.
Oh my
That's
God.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
well, and I want to just have a little wrap up, but yeah, go ahead, Sabrina.
No, I just wanted to say thank you. I do feel joy for you, and you are received by me, and I know that you will be received by many that will have the joy of knowing your journey. The only thing that I wanted to tell you is that I know that your journey is like, or at least right now, what you said about the freedom for the Palestinians, but it is your freedom. It is your liberation that has put you on this path, and it is liberated people that liberate others. That so I'm grateful for that.
Me too. Me too. And what an honor to get to witness this conversation and to bring you two together. I'm so curious, and I'd love to do. I'm trying to figure out the technological part. I'd love to do some lives and this and that, but I'm just so grateful for this moment.
Thank you. Thank you, Honeybee.
Tomorrow we'll send some light. Pitango is going to be speaking at a Buddhist center, yeah, in LA.
Yeah.
Correct. So thank you for doing that. And if you want to talk after, I'm happy to, just to hear how that's going. Let's close with a prayer.
Yeah.
So we're just closing our eyes and feeling into our own bodies. Letting all of this beautiful wisdom and love and honor and acknowledgement resonate inside the cells of your being, reminding you, igniting you, inspiring you to take the next step, whatever that looks like on your journey, and to know that you are held and supported by these hearts that are here and by so many hearts that you haven't yet even met. Knowing and trusting that your voice is needed and valued and received. I love you both. I love you both. I love you both. Thank you, my beloveds.
Thank you.
I'll circle back on the WhatsApp group for what we can do next, and I'm working on my technology part. But if there's any hits of inspiration of what you guys want to bring each other in for conversations, or, you know, if somebody comes and says, let's get these voices out. So let me know how I can serve.
Thank you, and I love you both.
I love you guys so much.
It was so nice
I love you
to
both.
know you.
It's so fun. I wanted to say something. It's so cute because you two are probably two of my most fun